Are you stressing out as you plan your cruise? Well, these are the things that smart or experienced cruisers do to plan a pretty perfect and stress-free cruise vacation. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, if this is your first cruise, this video is definitely for you. However, even if you've been on a few cruises before, well, you might still pick up a tip or a trick or a little secret that other cruises do that can be helpful. Because let's face it, and I am telling you, I am not a perfect cruiser. I have made mistakes before. I even did an entire video on this, which I will leave in the description below. But there are always things that we can pick up to make our cruise vacation even better. Now, before I get started, I wanted to mention that if you like this video, if you find these tips, tricks, and secrets helpful as you plan and get ready for your cruise, please do give the video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And of course, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Now, this first tip is one that really isn't talked about very often. I do think experienced cruisers know about it, but new cruisers probably wouldn't. And that is to join on Facebook or on a website called Cruise Critic, or perhaps other websites as well, but to join the roll call for your specific cruise ship and your specific cruise date. And the benefit of doing this, whether it's on Facebook and you find a group, or if it's on Cruise Critic, well, the benefit is that you'll be able to connect with people online before the cruise. You'll be able to find out what excursions they've booked. You might even be able to join an excursion together with a few people that's a private excursion and get that for a lot less expensive. You could maybe talk about who the cruise director is going to be, because somebody will often find that out. And in some cases, people will even organize get-togethers on the cruise ship. Now, I do have to tell you, these are not obligatory. So if you're not the type of person who wants to go on a cruise and meet other people and get together and go to a party, you don't have to do any of that. But it is a good way to find out information before your cruise. Now, on the cruise, if you are interested in meeting other people, there's often a cabin crawl that's organized. So that's where people visit different types of cabins. So that could be fun. And there could even be some sort of get-together that's organized as well. If you've ever joined a roll call, whether it's on Cruise Critic or on Facebook, please let me know below and let me know your experiences if you recommend that or if you don't. Number 2, this is seriously something that new cruisers wouldn't really think of, but a lot of experienced cruisers do. So you have to decide if this is right for you or not, but it is to stay on the cruise ship when the cruise ship is in port. Now, you wouldn't want to do this at every cruise port, but there are some locations where, well, it might just not appeal to you to even really get off the ship. So sometimes by staying on that cruise ship while everybody or almost everybody else gets off, well, you get those amenities of the ship to yourself. This is especially helpful when you're on one of the cruise ships that has a lot of activities to do, where there are often long lines. So whether it's the surf pool or racing cars or things like that, or even if you just want a relaxing day on the cruise ship, it almost feels like it's your own big private yacht. That is pretty nice. Now, at the same time, if you're interested in going to the spa or the salon, on those days, the ship is going to be almost empty. So oftentimes there are actually promotions where they'll do extra add-ons and they'll have discounts on those days as well. So definitely it's a reason to sometimes stay on the cruise ship instead of going off at the port. Number 3, experienced cruisers absolutely avoid flying in on the same day as their cruise. And they do it for a number of reasons. Number 1, they don't want to be late. That is absolutely something that an experienced cruiser knows, that the cruise ship will leave without them. But at the same time, they know that arriving a day early is going to make the cruise, well, pretty much stress-free on that embarkation day, which if you fly in the day of, you've pretty much wasted your day because you will be exhausted. At the same time, experienced cruisers know to never be late to anything on a cruise, especially if you're off the cruise ship. What I mean is, if you do an excursion on your own or with a private vendor, or you walk around in the cruise port, experienced cruisers know that they need to arrive back on time, and even that they should arrive probably a couple of hours, an hour or two before the cruise ship is due to leave, so that they don't end up in one of those infamous videos on YouTube about pier runners. Number 4, smart pro or experienced cruisers know that they want to research their cruise ship in advance. They want to know the must-dos, the things that they have to try, maybe which specialty restaurants they want to go to. So they know all of those things in advance. They might even have studied the schematic of the cruise ship in advance just to know, well, to be well orientated for their cruise even before it starts. And at the same time, they research their cruise ports. A good tip is start off with your research by looking at the excursions that are offered by the cruise line. That'll give you that best basis to get started with your cruise port research. Number 5, make sure to monitor your pricing for your cruise. Yes, there are price drops that can happen after you book your cruise, especially if you book your cruise well in advance and your final payment isn't due maybe 60 or 90 days before your cruise. In that in-between time when you've made your deposit and your final payment is due, oftentimes the price of a cruise can come down, or they might have different kinds of promotions. So definitely keep an eye on that, keep track of it, and you can actually contact your travel agent or the cruise line to see if they will give you a reduction on your cruise price. Oftentimes they will, and you'll be able to get new promos. The only thing is, something to remember is not everything is combinable. So if early on you had maybe a higher price, but you had a large onboard credit, your price may decrease and you may not have that onboard credit. So it's always worth comparing. Number 6, experienced cruisers often skip the cruise ship transfers. Now, why? Well, mostly because firstly, they are more expensive than if you find another way to get to the cruise port or to the airport by yourself. So you can take an Uber or a cab, and oftentimes they will be less expensive than the ship transfer. But the other reason is because when you take a cruise ship transfer, yes, there is convenience to that, but at the same time, it means usually that you'll get on a coach bus to go to the airport, and it means you might be with 50 other people all going at the same time. That means waiting for 50 other people to board a bus. So it's just easier oftentimes to take a cab, an Uber, even sometimes to rent a car. Now, I do have another little tip, and that is sometimes at the end of the cruise, if you have your flight that's booked later in the day, something that you might want to do instead of taking a cruise ship transfer is take a look at the excursions offered by the cruise line. And sometimes they have an excursion for that last day, like a half-day excursion, and it includes a transfer to the airport. That is one exception and one time that it might really be worth it for you because, of course, they store your luggage in the coach bus while you're on that excursion. Number 7, experienced cruisers are well-organized cruisers. Now, of course, we're all not perfect. I think we're all striving for that. But basically, you want to make sure that, well, the basics are there, that you have your cruise documents printed out or you've taken photos of them. Don't rely on the internet to be available wherever you go to make sure that you have your hotel reservations and things like that. Make sure to print it or take a photo on your phone, or do both. At the same time, make sure that you have a cruise packing list, that you go through it, that you have all of those essentials there. Now, something else also, experienced cruisers know the essentials that they want to have for their cruise. So those are certain accessories, and you don't need to have every cruise accessory available, but sometimes you might want to have a few things to make that cruise cabin well organized. Now, what I will do is leave a video at the end of this one. It's all about 50 cruise hacks to keep organized, to save money, and more. I will leave it at the end of this video, so make sure to check that out. Number 8, do check on your cruise line policy for bringing wine, champagne, water bottles, soda on board. And this is especially if you don't have a beverage package. Well, bringing wine on board is so helpful and will definitely save you money. And you could even bring champagne so you can toast to sail away, which will be wonderful. And if you don't bring water bottles, by the way, make sure to bring a refillable water bottle. You'll definitely want to have that for both on the cruise ship to make sure you're well hydrated, but especially for when you get off the cruise ship in the cruise ports. Number 9. Now, something that experienced cruisers do, especially women, I know that you do this, is you bring an extra sweater or a shawl or two to make sure that you cover your shoulders at night when the air conditioning is right on you in the dining room. Yes, the cruise ships can be cool in different areas, maybe the theaters, the bars, different places, and you'll just want a little something to cover your shoulders, especially if you're wearing spaghetti straps or, well, anything light for a Caribbean cruise. But as well, even for men and for ladies, the weather can be cool in the evening time. Sometimes there's an ocean breeze. We never know when we're going to have that day that's a little bit cooler. So always bring a sweater and maybe even something for the rain just in case, but definitely a sweater or something to cover your shoulders. Number 10. Now, something that pro cruisers do, and really, I know I've heard from new cruisers before that they saw this on the cruise ship, but they thought maybe it was too good to be true, but it isn't. So experienced cruisers know that they should book a cruise on the ship before they get off. Now, there's two reasons for this. One, because it definitely does save money. You can get extra onboard credits for the next cruise or for this cruise. And at the same time, you could even have a reduced deposit. So there's a lot of benefits. I really do go into that in the next video about the cruise hacks. However, more than that, or maybe not more than that, but equal to that in some ways, is when you get off the cruise ship, you are going to be hit with the post-cruise blues, like right away in the parking lot or on the way to the airport. It is awful. So having a cruise booked to look forward to for in a few months or in a year from now or in a year for half from now, or maybe even a deposit on the books so that you can start cruise shopping as soon as you get home, well, that just makes you feel better, and it will definitely kind of ease those post-cruise blues. So I'd love to know what you think. What are your pro cruiser tips? Please let me know in the comments below. If you're a new cruiser, let me know. And if you're an experienced cruiser and you have more tips or these tips were helpful, let me know as well. Now, if you did like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And of course, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. So I'm leaving that cruise hacks video right now. Make sure you watch it. Bye for now. Happy cruising.